Hello and welcome to the Albion Obsessed podcast. We come to you on the back of yet another historic night at the AMEX. Brighton and Hove Albion have clinched top spot in Group B. We've come a long way together. Let's see who we've got on the show today. Kurtis in his best Santa outfit. How are you, mate? It's Christmas time.
I'm very merry, as you can see. Ho ho and a third ho. I'm doing really good. I'm glad to be here. It's been a while since I've been on the pod, so happy to be back and discussing a historic night for the club.
Do you know what, Kurtis? It's absolutely lovely to see you back. Having your beautiful face next to me. It's like I was looking back at our messages actually earlier. I was feeling a bit sentimental, and we've been talking to each other for over 2 years now. Would you believe that?
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
I'm glad I've been able to put up with you for that long.
I know, you deserve a medal. Anyway, let's see who else we've got on the show today. We've got a long-time listener of the show, actually, Andrew. So good to finally have you on. We've chatted a lot at the AMEX as well. How are you, mate? All good?
Yes, I'm very well, thank you very much. Yeah, lovely to be on at last, and yeah, fantastic to be a part of the show, and yeah, really looking forward to getting into it.
Joining us on a very historic podcast, obviously. Absolutely. Topping Group B, absolutely fantastic. As you know, Andrew, we like to ask our first-time Albion guests 3 Albion-related questions. I'll start off with the first one. So what was your first Albion game?
Oh dear, I went to the Goldstone. Can't remember who we were playing, but yeah, the Goldstone brings a lot of memories back. In actual fact, my father used to know the groundsman there at the time, so we used to have a few other family members that used to kind of muck in and sort out the ground, ready for the next game. But yeah, absolutely, yeah, the Goldstone ground brings back a lot of memories because you kind of live up that way, just around the corner from it. So yeah, it was fantastic, really. So
happy days. Kurtis, do you want to go with the next one?
What was the question, sorry?
The favorite player. Go with favorite player.
Oh, you can't do this to me, Joseph.
No, ask Andrew.
Oh.
He's the guest.
Sorry. See, you know what? That's what I mean. I've spent such a long time since I've been on the bloody thing. Hi, Andrew. Who is your favourite Albion player, past or present?
Oh, that's a big question, isn't it? Well, Glenn Murray was obviously one of my favourites. We had, do you remember Kurt Nogan? No, he was one of the players many years ago, but he was back at the Goldstone days, I think he was. But yeah, and there's just Bobby Zamora, fantastic. Yeah, I think whichever player has been with the club is always going to be a legend because of what they've done for the club. So you've just got to kind of remember that and kind of just enjoy what they did. And, it's quite nice to see him around the ground and see him doing other social stuff. And it's quite nice to see that they're still in love with the club, which is fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. Andrew, you know that I'm a massive football shirt nerd. I've spoken to you at length at the AMEX about football shirts. Probably bored you to death about it, but I'm going to ask you a football shirt question now. What was your favourite ever Albion shirt?
Wow, yeah, that's another good question as well, because there's been loads of them. The present ones, you've got this season shirts, you've got the Europa shirts, you've got shirts that were worn back at the Goldstone ground, you've got with no bow on them, and you've got the skint shirts. There's so many of them that actually are really good, but there's not one that I can physically point out and say I love, because I love them all. Obviously the Europa shirt is a very special shirt because obviously that's one of the big competitions we're in now. So yeah, and obviously it's a very important one going forward.
And it's got a 100% win record. I know, one game, all right. Don't fantastic. Shoot me. Nice one.
What game are you on about? I have no idea what game you're on about.
I have no idea, Curtis. I have no idea. What even happened? What competition are we in? Anyway, let's stop the joking about and let's talk about the serious stuff. Brighton and Hove Albion, as I said at the top of the show, have just beaten Marseille to come top of the Europa League group, the so-called group of death, which it was labelled by the media, not by us, I must say. And we've completed it. We beat Ajax twice. We beat Athens. Granted, we were a little bit, as Dunkey said, deer in the headlights a little bit. But what an incredible turnaround it's been from the first game. So let's just run through the starting lineup very quickly. So we had Jason Steele in goal. It looked like a back three of Dunk, Van Hecke, and Igor. And then you're probably thinking wing backs were Gross and Hinshelwood. Probably Buonanotte and Gilmore were the midfield too, but Buonanotte pushing a little bit higher. Adingra, Matoma, and João Pedro leading the line of attack. So, Kurtis, were there any surprises for you, or is it with our starting lineups at the moment? Is it very much, we've got so many fit players, you can probably guess what the lineup's going to be.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I wasn't surprised by anyone there. I was pretty happy with that lineup, to be honest. There was obviously questions about who was going to fit where, but no surprises for me. I was pretty happy with it.
That's fair. And Jack Hinshelwood getting yet another start for us, Andrew. Incredible from the lad to be, starting in the Premier League, starting in the Europa League in such high-profile games and playing so well. How impressed have you been with the young lad since he's come in to the fold?
To be honest, he's 18, isn't he? So considering there's so much pressure on the lad that to be able to play at that level of football, that to come in and play in the Premier League, then play in the Europa League and be a part of a squad that's going for, it's just unbelievable. He's handling it so well. I'm so proud of him. He's just doing, he's learning off the bigger player. He's learning off the senior players. And it's just an amazing situation to be watching this lad grow and become that professional footballer that, he's always wanted to be, because he's obviously his dad was a footballer as well. And it's, it's just, you can't, there's only so much you can physically say about him, because he's becoming really, really kind of important to the team, and it's just great to see him progress.
Yeah, Curtis, is that a credit to our squad and De Zerbi bedding in these young players into first team training, whatever we don't see behind the scenes, but it clearly happens, because whenever these young players come into the squad, they seem so ready for it. And Jack Hinshelwood being a huge proof of that. Do you think that we've got maybe one or two more young players that are ready and waiting to step up as well as Jack?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure of it. I'm so sure of it. I mean, not only is it a testament to De Zerbi and wanting to bring young lads through, it's also a testament to the coaching of the youth. Like seeing these fantastically talented individuals coming through. We're getting flashes of Doofus when he played for us. That little cameo he had where he nearly scored immediately. That was pretty amazing. But we've got so many young, hungry players, and it's obvious seeing them on the pitch. You can tell that they just want to play. So I'm looking forward to the future of the club, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. It's in very good hands, and I think we're starting to really see the rewards for having such a good academy. I think Tony Bloom said it would take some time. Obviously, when we built it in Lancing, when did we move in there? 2014, I think. He said it would take probably around 10 years for us to really start to see the product of having such a good academy, and Jack Hinshelwood being a fantastic example, coming from under 8s, which I believe is the first age group on our academy, all the way up to the senior squad. I can't remember the last time that happened. Maybe Lewis Dunk. I'm not sure if he joined that early on. But still, to have a player that's literally Brighton born, bred, academy-wise is just fantastic to see. And, you know, a long time in the waiting since having, you know, the likes of Solly March and Lewis Dunk as well. We've got that next generation to come through and be that hero. Not to put too much pressure on the young lad at 18 years of age, you know, but he's got all of the capabilities. We are live tonight, so if you are watching and you want to get involved, drop a comment and we'll read it out. It's not a problem. And yeah, we'll see what you think as well. So, Kurtis, it became quite evident for me as the game started that Marseille, and probably rightly so, were just going to play for a draw. It was from a perspective in the ground, it was unbelievably frustrating. They were time wasting from minute one. Did you get that impression watching on TV?
I did, unfortunately. Yeah, it just seemed like that they came to be awkward, you know, to keep hold of the ball and, as you say, waste time. I was shouting at the screen many times, so I can imagine what it was like at the stadium. But yeah, it was evident from the outset that that's what they were trying to do, because they only needed the point, didn't they, essentially? So.
Yeah, it just looked like they were going to just sit back, hit us on the counter if they could score. Obviously, they needed to either win or draw, and they would have come top. So it was going to be a frustrating game anyway. Andrew, did you see that setup and think, gosh, this is going to be hard to break down? I think Brighton are notorious for not being able to break the teams down that just sit back. Did you think we were in for one of those afternoons that, you know, we're just going to be watching and watching and watching, and will we score?
There were, I think from the start, I think there were points of that first few minutes when you know that Marseille are going to be on top of us, because they're just going to want to kind of, because they're going for a point. They don't need anything else to take the group. And with us needing that win, it was going to go, you could see there was a little bit of kind of, I don't know, there was an awful lot of unnecessary delay in the game, with unnecessary, you know, fouls being committed. And it just seemed as if there was kind of a lot of, the referee was kind of yellow card mad, as you know, it didn't take an awful lot for the referee to kind of get a yellow card out in that game. But Marseille themselves, I think they were just, they wanted the point because they wanted the group, and it's exactly what they were trying to do, and they were just doing everything possible to try and keep us out. So yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, exactly that. Andrew, I was just really mega confused then, because your names come up in the comments. Hey, Joe, Kurtis and Andrew, up the Albion. I'm thinking, what is he commenting whilst he's on? But it's your lovely other half, Vicky. So hello, Vicky. Nice to see you watching. And you'll be happy to know this is an inside joke, so other viewers won't get this. I am not wearing my jeans that have a hole in them. I'm not poor. But there we go. Anyway. So yeah,
breaking news, everybody. Joe is not poor.
A little bit, but that's fine. Screw the government. Anyway, Kurtis, Andrew pointed out there was a lot of unnecessary. Well, I don't know if they're unnecessary. I think the reactions from Marseille were unnecessary. I think there was a moment in the first half where I believe it was a Dingra who tried to get the ball and collided with the goalkeeper. It might have been João Pedro. And the goalkeeper just laid there as if he'd been, you know, clattered into 2-foot challenge with studs up. It's just really frustrating when teams come and do that. But I guess, am I just being annoyed because it was happening against us? And tell me if I'm being wrong or over dramatic. But I thought it was.
I understand it. I totally understand it, because like when that happened, that specific challenge, I was like, oh, he proper clattered him within there, and they showed the replay, and I was like, what's wrong with him? Get up, you know. But listen, I think their game plan was quite literally to do that, frustrate us, and then when we're sort of off the gas a little, they'll counter attack. So they were doing everything they could to frustrate us, because, you know, there has been times where we've sort of lost our heads a little bit and made some silly challenges and things like that. So I think they were counting on that, but we were really resolute and really structured, and I thought we were really good last night. At times there were still some bits where we're a little squiffy, but otherwise I thought we were really good.
Squiffy, that is the word of the podcast, and that is the word of the week. So I challenge you, Albion obsessed listeners, to next week use the word squiffy. There you go. What was I going to say? The funny thing about Marseille sitting back and defending for what seemed like 90 minutes anyway, was the fact that their manager before the game said, "You cannot come to Brighton and sit back and defend. You will have to make a cross sign and hope that God helps you if you do that." Now, that's exactly what he did. Was that mind games, Andrew, do you think?
To be honest, I think they knew they knew that they were going to come for a tough game, and they did get a tough game. We gave them, just as much back, but you've got to take into account that, this side is a really, really decent side in their own league. And, when you look at some of their games that they've been playing in their own league, it's just, you would expect them to at least put one past us. That's a credit to our defence for keeping them out. I know there were some scary moments in that game where they've hit the bar and they've kind of come off the post, but overall, you've got to give credit to the Brighton defence for keeping them out.
Yeah. Kurtis, we had chance after chance after chance yesterday, what it felt like in the stadium anyway. I've not really looked at the stats, so I don't know how many shots we actually had. But it felt like the quality of the shots and the quality of the chances, it felt a little bit, and I'm sorry to say this, but it felt a little bit like watching Potterball. Like we were waiting for that perfect opportunity. Do you think that's just the way that Marseille set up, that we had to be patient and wait for that opening and they limited our chances? Or do you think that we can be a little bit better and a bit more direct at times?
Yes and no to both of them. But the stats here, we had 13 total shots and only 5 of them on target, against their 5 overall shots with nothing on target, which is pretty mad. But I don't know, at times it just felt like we didn't have our shooting boots on. There was no power behind some of them, and it was getting a bit frustrating. But I think it's a testament again to the team and their heart and spirit to just keep on going, keep on shooting, keep on fighting, because I think they knew eventually that they would get one, and they did. Because I don't know if you saw the post-match press conference with De Zerbi. He was saying about how he celebrated with a dinger and told him you weren't that great at times, but you carried on doing it. You carried on trying to score at least. And I thought that was nice of him to sort of say that, because sometimes we don't always have the best day at the office, but as long as you keep trying, that's an important thing. But yeah, I just thought at times we were our own worst enemy. But I thought that they were pretty stubborn in defence as well, and it was just a lot of different elements that came together to make it really tricky in the end.
Yeah, those shooting stats surprised me a little bit, actually, because I don't know if you feel the same, Andrew, but in the stadium, it certainly felt like we had more chances than that, and that we were sort of peppering them at times. Do you think that's just because we were, a little bit lackluster with the final pass, and we maybe thought we had more shots? Or, how do you see our attacking approach when it comes to teams that just want to sit back and defend?
I think the problem is sometimes I think when we attack quite, we try and get it down the wing to try and see if we can get the balls in from the wing and to get them crossed in and everything else. But when you're trying to get through a 5-man wall, it's impossible. It's quite, when you see an awful lot of the Premier League games that we play, trying to get through a 5-man wall from the other side is incredibly difficult. But I do find that they try to walk the ball in as if they've got no defenders in front of them, and they're passing and passing and passing. And it's that last little bit that they do too much. Rather than try and take a strike from outside the box, they try and take that little bit more Let's try and get into the 6-yard box. Let's try and get into the 18-yard box. Let's try and see if we can just kind of take that extra touch. And yeah, they do, you know. And when they do take a strike, when they do hit it from outside the box, it's not strong enough. It's just not. It needs to be, the confidence within the player has to be there for that shot to be any good. And when you're expecting the rest of, you know, when you're expecting all your teammates around you to be there for when that ball kind of rebounds off of one of their defenders, and we're not quite quick enough to get that ball back in again. It just seems to be. It may not. It's not a criticism to what we're doing. It's just we just need to kind of not take too many touches. You know, if we've got it, take that opportunity. You can hear it from the crowd. You can hear it from, you know, the North Stand say it all the time. You know, shoot, and it's kind of, you know, and when they don't and they take it just gets frustrating.
Yeah, I completely agree.
You
It's
should have sent the group chat, Andrew, yesterday. Just Joe
Oh.
going, effing shoot.
honestly, like there
So
are
funny.
so many opportunities where, you know, it's so easy. I'm gonna preface this. It's so easy for us to sit in the stands and say, you should have had a shot there, you should have done this, you should have done that. But when you're on that pitch and you're faced with, as you say, Andrew, a 5-man wall that you simply can't get past, and you've got to think a little bit more of how are we going to score here. That it does take that extra mental power from the players to really think about how they're going to score. But the thing that really annoys me is when they don't keep it simple at really tough times in the game, when you see little flicks here, little flicks there, and when you think just take the first touch and bring that ball in and make it stick, they just can't quite make it stick, and it's slightly frustrating. But you know, let's not be too negative, because the boys, they gave absolutely everything yesterday and kept going right to the last. And that's what we see with De Zerbi's teams, is they will never give up. If they're 3-1 down, 3-0 down, you know, we were 5-0 down against Everton. Sorry to remind people of that, but we still didn't give up. So it was, yeah, I think that's just credit to De Zerbi and what he gives from a mentality side of things. Kurtis, let's talk about a few individual performances yesterday, because there were some standouts for me. And I think a man of the match is going to be relatively difficult to pick. I think there's maybe one that just edges it, and this man we'll talk about right now, Billy Gilmour. Can you give us his full name again, please?
Bilmero Gilzinho. That's his name. Bilmero Gilzinho. No, his name is Billy Clifford Gilmour, the one and only Billy Clifford Gilmour. What a performance he had yesterday. Outstanding, absolute powerhouse. He really, really surprised me. Really, really surprised me. And I don't know why, because he's capable of putting in absolutely fantastic performances when it's required of him. And he's just really developed into like a mainstay of that midfield for me. I love him. He's fantastic. I don't have all the words. There aren't words yet to describe how good he was for me yesterday.
The words that should describe it, Kurtis, are the Chelsea fans that were absolutely purring over him yesterday after that performance, because they let him go for 7 million British pounds. Andrew, just how good.
That's the only thing I will thank Potter for. So cheers for that, mate.
Absolutely. Andrew, just how good is Billy Gilmour, and how good can he be? You know, let's not forget he's not old. He's still got bags of potential. He's still learning under De Zerbi. Can he be better than Caicedo?
That's the big question, isn't it? Can he be as good as Caicedo? I think he can. Remember, he's only young, isn't he? He's not. The talent he's got and the way he controls that midfield and what he was doing yesterday in that midfield is an absolute credit to him, because he was all over it. There wasn't 1 minute that you could turn around and say, well, he could have done better. you know, I'm sure if you ask him, I'm sure he would turn around and say that there were points of his game that he could have done better. But from a supporter's point of view and watching it, you would think everything was 100%. And I'm sure that the stats yesterday, I'm sure they turned around and said it was like 97% accuracy on passing that he was doing. I'm sure it was just unbelievable. He's got a talent, and hopefully that will continue. As long as they can keep him fit and they can keep him, give him the game time, because he's been doing so well. And, the only time I think I want to see him not play is when he's injured. And hopefully he won't ever get injured. And hopefully he continues with the spirit he's got, because he's a brilliant player. I've met him. I met him at Wolves briefly after the game. He came out and saw some of the fans. So, that was a really nice kind of, and it was just nice to meet him. He's such a down-to-earth guy. So yeah, he's totally controlling that midfield, and may it continue, because he's brilliant.
Yeah, definitely. Curtis, can we talk about his attitude as well? Since coming in, he's had Alexis McAllister ahead of him, Moises Caicedo, maybe a couple of other options in midfield, Pascal Gross being one of them as well. He's had to stay so patient. And last season, you could see his work rate and everything about him. He was just carrying himself in the perfect way De Zerbi would want a squad player, which is what he was last season, to carry himself. And now he's probably the first name on the team sheet in De Zerbi's midfield. How impressive is the boy's attitude for sticking around and now being the main midfielder in a team winning their group in Europe?
I mean, it's highly commendable. I mean, most players could get quite jaded and annoyed about the whole situation, about, because I remember last season it was kind of a struggle to get him in, and him saying, to fully understand the style of play, he has to play and whatnot. But like we've said, like, he's just a mainstay now. I can't. He's the first name on the team sheet for me. Him and Gross, people like that, So yeah, hats off to the guy, because he's rapidly becoming one of my favourites in the squad. Absolutely.
Definitely. Let's stay on individuals. We obviously wanted to credit a team performance, because it was a fantastic team performance from Steele all the way up to João Pedro. But let's talk about a guy who came in for £14 million this summer. Julio Igor, or Igor Julio. We call him Igor. We absolutely adore him in the North Stand. We adore him all over the Albion fan base. He has been monumental since coming in. I don't think he's dropped one bad performance. Maybe Athens at home, but then you've got to think about, it was his first time playing alongside Jan-Paul van Hecker. So you've got a defensive partnership that don't really know how each other play, and then he comes in alongside Lewis Dunk, and the Lewis Dunk effect happens. Every centre-back Lewis Dunk seems to play alongside turns into prime Maldini somehow. Andrew, how impressed are you with Igor, and just how much of a powerhouse he is in defence?
He's a credit to himself. He really is, because he certainly knows how to play football, that's for sure. And he certainly has this talent. He knows exactly where to be, and it's just, I think playing alongside Dunkey and Van Heck, I think that's a defence to be reckoned with, and it's great to see that they're not scared of the ball. He controls that ball. He if you look at some of the challenges he does, he doesn't have to. He tries not to commit a foul. He tries to get the ball away from the other player, and he tries to get it forward as quickly as possible. And he's not scared of doing that. He just wants to be involved with that ball, get it down the pitch, get it to one of his teammates that would be able to kind of fly down the middle and do something with it. And it's a total credit to him, and yeah, like I say, he's just a powerhouse, and he's got all the the fans love him, absolutely love him. and they just want to see more of him. It's
Absolutely.
brilliant.
I will say though, Joe, it's pretty amazing how we managed to register an absolute brick wall. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm
incredible.
sure brick walls don't classify as a football player. Curtis, let's stay on the subject of centre backs. Some amazing news came out tonight that Jan-Paul Van Heck has signed a new deal that takes him up to June 2027. So that's another 3-ish years, counting December, maybe. Yeah, 3 years that we've got him at the club. Do you think he's in line to become that next sort of captain figure to replace Dunk in the next 3 years, or do you think is that putting too much pressure on him at this stage? But what a player to have sign a new 3-year deal.
Absolutely. My opinion, he shouldn't try and be anyone else, you know, because there'll be these comparisons of people being like, oh, he's the next Dunk potentially, which is obviously an amazing thing to aspire to be, but he just needs to be the best version of himself, because what he's doing at the moment is fantastic. I mean, I have to say, like, his improvement has been like meteoric for me, like really, really quite amazing how quickly he's developed in such a short space of time as well, I think. Because at one point it felt like he might be on his way out the door, you know, because we heard rumours of him, you know, going out on loan or being sold somewhere. But now, again, man's a mainstay for me. He really, really is. You know, if Dunk's not there anymore, I'm not particularly worried. If it's like a two at the back, you know, those two there, Van Heck and Igor. But yeah, he's one of my favourite players. He's definitely someone I've been rooting for a very, very long time. And to see the success that he's had and the plaudits he's getting really fills me with a lot of joy. So really, really pleased for him.
Yeah, definitely. Andrew, he's had to grow up quite quickly, hasn't he? I think he was quite a hothead in his time at Blackburn. I think we saw in pre-season that he could make a rash challenge or two. Obviously, picking up that red card. I think it was against Chelsea. And I think a few times last season when he had to be drafted in, there were a few really dodgy moments. But he's grown up so quickly, and even Roberto De Zerbi has mentioned that the improvement of Jan-Paul Van Hecker is unlike anything he's ever seen. Is it unlike anything you've ever seen? How impressed are you with our young Dutchman?
I think when you watch him play, remember, like you said, he's still learning. He's still learning. He's still a young lad. You know, at the end of the day, you know, you're not going to get every situation right. There's always going to be occasions when you're playing that things don't go right for you. But De Zerbi's got so much faith in him. You know, he's a player that he's very versatile. He can, you know, he can switch either side. He can, you know, if you go back to the Nottingham Forest game and when Dunkey got sent off, he took control of that. You could see he took control of that. And he did everything he possibly could with the team to make them as solid as possible. He doesn't just work on his own performance. He also works on, you know, the youngsters in the team. He encourages them. He gets behind them. He tells them when they're doing something wrong and what they're supposed to be. You know, you can see that. You know, and him and Dunkey work really, really well. So yeah, absolute brilliant, and credit to him. And you know, De Zerbi, he knows what he's doing. He knows when he can see a decent player because he's that type of manager, and we're just very, very lucky to have whoever De Zerbi brings in. So
yeah, I think you're spot on. Curtis, he's one of those players, Jan-Paul Van Hecker, that a lot of football fans say it on Twitter, especially. He just gets it. He's Albion. When he puts on that shirt, he's one of us. He's a fan. And you see it multiple times when he'll make a tackle or he'll make a block and he'll turn to the north stand and celebrate as if he scored a goal. How important is that to have a player like that shows that passion and really brings the fans into the game?
Well, the passion bleeds into the way he plays, obviously. when you have someone that wants to celebrate with the fans and show how much he wants to fight, it tells you a lot about how he's going to play for you. So yeah, it's hugely important, not just for the squad. And I'm really, really glad that we've secured him for a bit longer, because he's just going to grow and grow and get better and better. And I'm excited for it. Really, really am.
Definitely. Let's talk about another young lad who looked unbelievably lively yesterday. We've spoken about Jack Hinshelwood. Let's go a little bit more forward on the pitch and speak about a man who has carried himself incredibly well, and I always give him respect for that. I've not been his best critic in terms of how he's played, in terms of skill, in terms of what he's given to the game, but I've always given this guy credit on how much he's given to the squad, and that's Facundo Buonanotte starting in his natural number 10 role yesterday, Andrew. I thought, even from my perspective, he looked incredibly lively in the first half and a little bit into the second half as well, and was linking up play perfectly. What's your opinion on our young Argentine, and do you think his ceiling is quite high?
Start, hasn't he? He's had a bit of a tough start within the team, and there were times when he wasn't playing at all. And I think now De Zerbi's kind of, we saw him, playing at Chelsea, and yeah, brilliant. You've got to give a player a chance. You've got to give them a chance to show what they've got, because if you don't, then you could be missing out on a player that's got a lot of talent, and he loves playing. He loves, De Zerbi's very much for him. He seems to play him. He seems to, he's been in the first 11 for a couple of games now, and he seems to be doing really, really well. It's like any player. You try to take one too many touches, or and that's something he needs to kind of, as soon as he's got a chance to release that ball, he needs to release it, because he just seems to be taking it on a little bit too much. But yeah, he's a brilliant player. He just needs to have that opportunity to show what he can do in the 11, and just to see how he goes. De Zerbi will be the first one to turn around and say, right, you're not playing good enough, and you'll be on the bench. That's the manager he is.
Yeah, exactly right, Andrew. I think you're absolutely spot on. So I think we've been beating around the bush for a while. Let's talk about the big moment. Actually, no, we're going to beat around the bush a little bit more, because there was a moment in the game that I thought it was over for us. That I thought the Marseille would play out perfectly for their 0-0 draw that they so badly wanted, and that was the moment that Evan Ferguson had a shot, a very good shot, I must add. The goalkeeper saves it, and they give a goal kick. Kurtis, what?
Joe, I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know why that was a thing. Yeah, but lovely shot from Ferguson. It's a shame that didn't hit the back of the net, but it's what it is.
Sorry, do you think but those moments as you edge towards the end of the game, and you really need something to go for you, that chance of a corner is taken away from you, and it felt like, to me, a complete punch in the stomach, because the momentum before that chance was incredible. Yeah. And it felt like the crowd were drawing that ball into the net. And then you saw the players' reactions once he gave a goal kick. It just felt like, for me at that moment, I don't know if it did for you, but it just felt like the game was gone.
Yeah, I mean, that could have been a game-changing moment, obviously. And then when we weren't awarded that corner, I was like, it's confusing. Why? Lots of expletives, as you can imagine. But I thought, if we keep knocking the door the way we're doing it, I thought we'll potentially get something out of this. And about 5 minutes before the goal, I was sort of resigning to the fact, I was like, they're going to get this draw here. But obviously, I was just fully in belief. I was like, we've got to try and get something out of this. And well, we did. So
And then, and then, Andrew, probably give or take a few minutes, exactly 24 hours ago, the Amex absolutely erupted because João Pedro takes the ball away from his man. Some absolutely delicious football, first of all, from I think it started with Billy Gilmore, came across to Lallana, who played a lovely flick to Gross. Gross does what he does best and gets the ball to a player in the box. João Pedro takes the ball away from the Marseille defender absolutely fantastically well. And I don't know if it felt the same for you, Andrew, but in that moment, everything stopped. And it felt like, is it going to leave João Pedro's boot? And then suddenly it's in the back of the net. And the Amex just goes absolutely wild. Where does that moment rank for you? Like, we've had some incredible moments in these last 12 months even. Where does it rank for you?
I didn't realise who'd scored it at the time, and it's kind of I'm kind of right behind the strike as it's kind of, left, and it's heading towards the back of the net, and as soon as it goes in, that moment of, oh my god, I think we have just done this, and the reality of it was just kind of, we are literally minutes away from winning this group now. We cannot, and you're kind of you're talking to yourself within the kind of saying, right, we need to keep the ball and we need to make sure that they don't come down here and try and get one. But before that, you've got Pedro scoring. He's then running over to the east stand, jumping in with the fans, which is incredible. And it's almost like he's having his own little party in there with them because of the amount of fans he had around him. And I don't actually think security knew what to do, to be perfectly honest, apart from, and then you've got the rest of the team following up behind him, and then he goes and stands on the advertising hoardings with Donkey holding his shirt. So yes, incredible. And the north, I can see the north stand from where obviously where I'm from, where I was kind of sitting, and the atmosphere in that north stand was incredible, absolutely incredible. There wasn't one person I could possibly say that wasn't celebrating that goal. And then if you actually look back on the actual goal itself, the north stand was a complete mess. It was just, and then you've got Pedro running over to the east, jumping in there. It's that golden moment of a very, very precious goal being scored by the one and only. It could have only have been him that could have done that, because everybody else has had that chance to score last night, and it didn't happen, and Pedro comes up with the goods, and what a strike it was.
Yeah. Do you know what, Andrew? You summed that up absolutely perfectly. It had to be João Pedro. He has scored, Kurtis, in every single Europa League game for Brighton and Hove Albion. He sits top of the scoring charts in the Europa League with 6 goals, given that some of them are penalties. But I think we had a conversation, Andrew. He's won most of those penalties. So it's a credit to him. And yeah, as you say, Andrew, the golden moment. Kurtis, how good of an analogy is that golden moment that ball leaves João Pedro's boot and wins us a Europa League group stage is just mind-boggling.
I mean, I know exactly what you meant about sort of time stopping, because I saw him in the box, and then everything, it was weird. I was sat here and I was thinking to myself, right, I was like, just go for it at this point. And then it seemed to last like 5 minutes or something else like that. And then the next thing I knew, he was running into the crowd, and I was here just like, like celebrating and stuff. Then obviously like De Zerbi was head first into the crowd as well. It was a beautiful, beautiful, pivotal moment in the club's history. This is going to be something that in 20 years' time we'll look back on and be like, that is when we topped a European group, the group of death, to get to the last round of 16 and whatnot. Again, when you look back on the history of the club, where we've been, the journey we've taken, and where we are now, it's emotional at times. It's mad. Like I've told you this before. Like I used to hate football for some reason because I was a mad person, and it's like fully changed my life. And I get to experience these amazing moments with incredible people such as yourselves, and I couldn't be more thankful that I get to take this ride with all of you. So that's just all I want to say about it.
Mate, it's honestly just so incredible. I saw a really funny tweet earlier, made me giggle that every time Brighton make history, especially in the last 12 months, they've been making that documentary Stand or Fall. You just see the editor going, for fuck's sake, I'm not done yet. And then you got to add more and add more and add more. And I think that's probably why there's been such a delay on it, because this club story, Johnny Cantor said it best, and it plays every time at the AMEX before the players walk out. It gets better and better and better. And I don't know where it stops, Andrew. A manager of previous times, Gus Poyet, once said that this football club had a ceiling. What is the ceiling of this football club? Is there a ceiling? How far can we go?
Well, you would like to think that we've won the group. We've put it this way: we've gone into a competition which the club have never been in before, and we thought we were proud at that moment. We've then gone through the group and we've won it, and we've not just we're second in the group with Marseille being top. We go into the last game needing to win it, and now we've topped the group and we've won the group, and we're now into the last 16 of this incredible competition, which no one could ever have predicted. As much as you think in your head that this club, is capable of doing it, we seem to go one step further each time. I don't think there is a limit. I think that if the club can do what the club wants to do, there is no limit to what they can do. They've already proved that more than once. They get promoted into the Premier League all those years ago. They get to a semi-final of an FA Cup. It's and now you're in the Europa League, and you've just won the group, and the next stage of this whole this whole journey with the club is one of the most important journeys the club will be on.
Yeah.
And don't forget, we've still got the Premier League, and we've still got a huge amount of injuries that we're trying to recover from, and yet the side he's putting out, the team are working solidly for him because they want to get this team into a position where they are going to be, Brighton always used to be a club that would never achieve, that would struggle to achieve. But now look at us. We are what we call Super Brighton, and we will always be Super Brighton. There's no two ways about that. I love this club more than anything else. And yeah, the skies are open. We can achieve what we want to achieve as long as we can keep a team fit. We can go far.
Yeah, I think you've summed that up absolutely perfectly. And I was actually going to touch, Kurtis, on the injury situation. What Andrew's just described there, you would imagine being a team that have all of their fit players and have all of their top players available to play, and these players to step up in these huge moments. And yes, we've got João Pedro. Yes, we've still got some really, really good players that are playing for us. Like De Zerbi's made such an incredibly strong squad out of what he's had to make it out of. And it's such a credit to this football club, isn't it, Curtis, that we've managed to achieve this with the injury crisis that's going on right now.
Yeah. I mean, again, I want to echo a lot of what Andrew was saying. I think it speaks a lot of volumes about the players and them wanting to play for the manager and wanting to do well for the club. And it's abundantly clear out there on the pitch when we're stretched really, really thin, having to play youth players at times and not having key players when we might need them and what have you. And we have a lot of negatives about we're getting too many draws or Brighton haven't actually won a game in X amount of games or they're not getting enough clean sheets. I'm just really proud of the team and the fight and the hunger is abundantly clear out there. And as long as we keep having that fire, that fight, and that hunger, I feel like we can continue and we can keep growing and we can. The sky's the limit. The sky is the limit.
Exactly that. Andrew, I've just seen a comment in our YouTube that's from your other half that says, so Andrew loves the club more than anything. Is that including me? I hope not. Andrew, mate, I think you're sleeping on the sofa tonight. Anything to add?
Oh dear, dearie me. Oh, bless her. Nah, she's a credit to me.
Yeah, I see that. Don't you worry, Andrew. I'll back you up. You're all good. Let's ask the hard question then, Curtis. Player of the match. Go on.
There's a few options for me, but it's going to have to go to Billy Gilmore. Fantastic. We've touched on it. But he was incredible. So Billy Gilmore for me. Yeah.
Yeah, good shout. Andrew, player of the match for me, please.
Problem is, I think they all played their hearts out last night, and it's incredibly difficult when they do that, because you can't really give just one person man of the match, because there isn't. If I had to go for one, I think I would have to do I would have to, That's right. Yeah. Okay. I'll go for Billy. I think he controlled midfield.
Yeah, I agree. Well, or do I agree? Do I? Curtis, I think I'm going to be different. Sorry, Billy Gilmore, you're not going to get an Albion obsessed clean sweep, because I want to give my man of the match to our absolute brick wall at the back, Igor. I think that man is Colwill times 10. The way he runs with the ball, the way he defends, the way he keeps his line with Dunkey and Van Hecker, his discipline is just something to behold. 14 million pounds.
Yeah, see, that's what I was struggling with. That was what I was, because to me it was between Billy and the centre backs.
Yeah,
those two centre backs, Van Heck or Igor. But yeah, don't blame you for giving it to Igor, because he was incredible too. So.
I love him, and he's another one of those players that just gets it. I've seen so many interactions with fans. I get the park and ride to Brighton Racecourse, and the Brighton players always drive past us on their way home. And whenever he's stuck in traffic, he's always interacting with the Brighton fans, and you can see how much he's loving it at this football club. You see it on the club socials. I think Igor is an absolute credit to this football club, and long may that continue. So he gets my player of the match award. Another player I wanted to shout out quite quickly, because he has got a lot of negative plaudits on this podcast. Can you say plaudits and negative? Probably not, but oh well. So he's got a lot of quite a lot of negativity on this podcast. That's James Milner. I thought when he came on, Dagan, this is for you. He came on with Pascal Gross on the pitch, and we didn't concede. Granted, there was a counter-attack that filled me with a lot of dread, and James Milner was not tracking back. But going forward, I thought James Milner was absolutely fantastic yesterday and really sort of solidified us when we had to close the game out. So I think they're the moments you need the players like Lallana, like Welbeck, like James Milner, who are going to come on and give that pedigree of a big player to close out a big game. So just wanted to give him credit. So there you go, James Milner, you're welcome. Let's look ahead, Kurtis, in Simon Adingra fashion, to Arsenal at the weekend. So in our last Premier League game, we drew 1-1 with Burnley. They had a very lucky deflected goal and not a clean sheet in the Premier League. Still, we're in December, no clean sheet. I know, Kurtis, you're going to say that doesn't matter. We move on to Arsenal. How are you feeling ahead of that game?
Easy 4-0.
Wow.
No, I mean, honestly, obviously, it's going to be really, really tough. Arsenal have looked really, really, really good at times. Don't let the fact that they, lost to Villa, fill you with any sort of sense of like, oh, we're going to smash them. But listen, we have a lot thinner squad than we did the last time that we faced them and we beat them. So it's going to be a really tough test. But it's actually a game I'm looking forward to seeing because I'm interested to see how we're going to line up and everything else, the usual. But I'm somewhat confident. Do you want a goal prediction from me as well?
Yeah, go for it. Let's go with a score prediction.
Okay. I'm going to say a 2-1. Right, that's my score prediction.
To us,
I believe so. Yes.
Scorers.
Okay.
Surely Billy Gilmore needs a goal by now.
Oh mate, like I was saying this when we were watching the game yesterday. I was like, I'd love him to score in this game. Yesterday, but I believe it will be Gross and Adingra. That's what I think. Yeah,
they're good selections. Andrew, how are you feeling ahead of the game? Are you going to the Emirates? And what do you think the score would be?
Going Sunday. Making my way to lovely London again to go and see this game with Vicky. And I think it's going to be a tough game. There's no two ways about it. We've literally just come off the back of this Europa game, and I'm just hoping that the players are going to be hungry for it. There's no two ways about that. They're going to be hungry for it. Just hope they're going to be it's the tiredness is always seems to be the problem, and just hope that they've recovered enough to kind of see them through. But yeah, I think I'm going to go for a draw of a 2-2. I think. And if anything more than that happens and it goes our way, then that will be a fine afternoon. So yeah, gonna do 2-2. I think Pedro, if hopefully he's fit, because I know he went off with a bit of a knock, but if he's available and he's fit enough to play, hopefully he'll do the honours and put another one in for us. You've got the likes of Grace, who's quite capable of banging in a couple of goals. Problem is, you've got everybody in that team's quite capable. You've got Adingra, just popping back to yesterday. Adingra didn't play brilliantly yesterday. He put that one over the bar, and it was kind of, if he had taken that a little bit smoother, he could have at least got a save out the keeper. That would have been worth him rather than putting it over the bar. But I just think that it's going to be a difficult game because Arsenal are going to be up for it and they're going to be ready for it. And going to the Emirates is always going to be, a hostile environment going there anyway because Arsenal got fantastic support behind them. But yet again, we're going to be taking away the full 3,000 plus with us. They're going to be right behind the team, and got big celebrations to be celebrating with the team after yesterday. So yeah, we'll all be in fine voice. So yeah, we've just got to make sure that we've recovered enough because that'd be the key to this game. If we've recovered, then we'll get something out of it.
Yeah, definitely. I fully agree. It's going to be a good day either way because, as you say, Andrew, we've got a lot to celebrate with this squad. We've got a lot to be proud for, and you know, what I'm waiting for is the fact that if we lose on Sunday, it's going to be the end of the world, Curtis, isn't it? Everyone's going to say this person out, that person, this person. But in reality, if we lose to Arsenal at the Emirates, we're losing to title contenders, right? So let's
Yeah,
just
that's the
put
thing.
that
Like,
reality out there in the world.
yeah. I mean, if we get beaten by Arsenal, it won't be a surprise, because they are title contenders this season. They're playing very, very well. We have a very stretched, thin team, but I wouldn't put it past us to go there and do what we do and do it well and maybe get something out of it. So we just have to wait and see how it pans out.
Yeah, exactly that. Score prediction from me, I think that it will be a lovely 1-0 win for the Albion. I think it's going to be close. I'm going to go with my heart
And a
because
clean sheet, you're saying?
a clean sheet, a first clean sheet at the Emirates. We all know what happened at the Emirates last season, Curtis. And if
More of that,
Deserbi,
please. More of that.
absolutely, if Deserbi comes out and says the same thing, I will love it, and I think I deserve it. Get it? Yeah, cool. All right, nice one. What was that, Andrew?
I said, don't forget, although we've got Arsenal on Sunday, don't forget we've got another massive game a few days later on the Thursday with Palace.
And Crystal Palace get to experience what it's like playing on a Thursday night.
Absolutely.
How lovely of them. Against a team that have such incredible European pedigree as well. Palace, you are so welcome. Andrew, you going to Selhurst, are you?
I'll tell you something, if I could get a ticket, I would, but they're completely sold out. So
Gold
completely
dust.
sold.
Gold dust.
Absolutely gold dust. You're never going to get a ticket for that unless one becomes available at some point. So
yeah, or unless you've rightly got 300 odd loyalty points, which these people that go to Europe and that lot absolutely deserve to experience these moments. So hopefully they can go there and beat the Palace scum. But enough about Palace. We've got to focus on Arsenal first. And let's close the show. So if you would be so kind to like, share, and comment, really does help us out. Also, Curtis, we released something the other day, didn't we?
We did something that we're incredibly proud of, something we put a lot of very hard work into, and that's the With Dean Years, which follows two of our hosts, Tom and Aaron's stories, talking about their memories of the With Dean Stadium. So if you could please give that a watch, share it to your Albion supporting friends and family, and just get it out there, because we're incredibly proud of it and we want people to see it. So if you could do that, that'd be great.
Yeah, exactly. I think I'm biased in saying, oh, sorry, Andrew, what was that?
Can I just give two shouts? Can I just give two shout outs if that's possible?
Yeah, go for it.
To my daughter Grace, love you loads. And to my son Luke, love you loads too. And Vicky, love you millions. And yeah, brilliant. Fantastic.
There you go. You've reminded me, Andrew, I actually need to give a shout out to somebody that watches this show quite often, and he actually sits right in front of me. I met him at the Burnley game. His name is Tommy. He's an absolute legend. Thanks for watching the show, mate. I hope you've enjoyed this one as well. Don't repeat the swears. You're not old enough to swear yet, so just skip past that bit. We didn't swear. It's okay. But yeah. I'm so glad you loved the show, and so glad you got to send a message to the guys the other day, and they really appreciated it. And I'm his favourite. Yeah.
Whatever, Joe. I don't even care.
Whatever. I don't care. He's going to go cry later.
By the way, Andrew, thank you very much for coming on and joining us this evening. It's been a pleasure having you on, mate.
Nah, it's been brilliant, and yeah, it's been fantastic. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and hopefully I can. Hopefully, if you're happy, I'll be. Hopefully, I'll come on again in the future.
We're more than happy to have you, Andrew. We are a very, very open door at Albion Obsessed. We don't need.
Yeah, no competitions, nothing like that. Just bring yourself in and have a good, honest chat about the Albion.
Exactly that. Exactly that. That's what we're all about. We're all about family. We're all about community. That's what we want here. So yeah. Also, don't forget oneclopshop.com, 10% off if you enter code Albion Obsessed for all your football shirt needs. I love football shirts. Curtis loves football shirts. We all love football shirts.
Joe, did
Go
you say
get yourself
10%?
10% off. 10%.
That's a good deal. That's a
It's
very good
incredible.
deal.
It's incredible. Also, we're running a competition at the moment on our Twitter. Mezzella Designs have created a lovely João Pedro moment post that you can get and hang on your wall. It's incredible. If you want to win it, go to our Albion Obsessed Twitter, retweet the tweet, follow us, follow Mezzella Designs, and hopefully you will win. And it will be a lovely Christmas present for whoever you want to give it to. Anyway, enough waffling on. Let's close the episode. Wherever you may be, whenever you may be, have a great time. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.